If you read pamphlets or websites on domestic violence, they will tell you right in there prominently that domestic violence does not care about your age, it doesn't care about your race, it doesn't care about your class, how much money you make, your education. It can affect all of us. Today we're going to look at and pay tribute to Michelle Avan, who is a great example of this. Some of the women that we've looked at have low income and lots of children, and they're barely getting by. This woman was very prominent in the community, very successful, well established, and it doesn't care. It doesn't care.
Few things are as powerful.
If I haven't seen you before, welcome. My name is April Hardy. I'm a survivor, an advocate, and an author with a lot of different types of abuse. But here we're talking about domestic violence related things, specifically intimate partner homicide. If you're not new, welcome back. I'm really glad to see you. Thank you for joining me. Not much is publicly known about the murder of Michelle Avan, and I believe that that is largely because of the public figure that she is. I think that there's a lot of effort been made to not in any way try to smear her name, which shouldn't happen. Being a victim of domestic violence and intimate partner homicide should not be something shameful. It should not be something that makes somebody look bad, because it's not the victim who is bad. It's the perpetrator. I can tell you that it was reported that she was found dead in her California home the morning of Thursday, August 5th, 2021. She was found by her son, although some media outlets just reported that she was found by a family member after the family became concerned because they weren't able to reach her. Michelle, age 48, was found beaten to death inside of her home. Although her cause of death hasn't been published, the police report said that there was trauma to her face. It's been alleged that Anthony Dwayne Turner, 52, of Westchester, entered Michelle's home on August 3rd and killed her, and he didn't leave until the next day, according to the prosecutors. Similar to the murder, there's not a whole lot on the history of this couple. We know that they worked together at Bank of America. He was an executive, and she was recently promoted to senior vice president, and that he was described as her ex-boyfriend. It's not public knowledge how they met initially, or when they dated, how long they dated, how long ago they broke up. So Turner was booked and being held at LAPD's Valley Jail, according to booking records, and bail was set at $2 million. He was charged with murder and first-degree burglary charges. Burglary is breaking and entering, so clearly she didn't let him into her house, and there's some evidence of forced entry or entry without her permission, and he pled not guilty at his arraignment hearing. Michelle's family is calling on Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon, I guess how you say it, to file a special circumstances murder charge against him for this crime. Her family says that the DA's office did not add the additional charge, which made him ineligible for a harsher sentence if he is convicted.
Avan's son and the rest of her family are now pleading for justice.
My mom was such a beautiful person, just so loving. If it was anything that you needed from her, she would be there. She didn't even get a chance to see her granddaughter's second birthday because she was taken from us.
Now, some of the things that I find interesting in this case is that you kind of have to look in between the lines, because, like I said, she's being protected media-wise because of who she was. There's not much information that has been released at this point anyway. But, as I understand it, Michelle's family reportedly believed that this guy was a, quote, stand-up guy, okay? In contrast, now her son says that he found his mother's lifeless body beaten and left alone by a man who is a murderer. And the family does not want photos of Turner in a suit and tie perceived to be the stand-up guy, giving people a picture of a stand-up guy, of a professional guy. Now they want him to be seen as the murdering piece of poo that he is, if that is in fact the case. And I'm inclined to believe that it is because usually that's the case. But it's interesting to me how he is a stand-up guy in their minds, and yet
8 hours after finding the woman dead inside her Reseda home, officers say they made an arrest. The victim, Michelle Avan, was found yesterday morning on Cavello Street near Tampa. Police arrested the suspect in Westchester.
LAPD detectives arrested Turner on Thursday afternoon. The thing that bothers me here is that one does not usually go from thinking that somebody is a stand-up guy or a great person or whatever to being a murderer in a 24-hour period of time in your mind without there being some evidence of that. And even then, if there's evidence, we have a tendency to try to rationalize or justify it in some way. Like, that can't really be them. If I think this person is a good person, there has to be some mistake, right? But that was the case here, supposedly. That's what the media is leading us to believe. In fact, LAPD detectives arrested Turner on Thursday afternoon, just hours after Michelle's body was discovered. Hours after they were aware that a murder had even occurred, they had this guy in custody. Why? What gave them the idea that it was him so fast? I can make my guesses based on my research. They had been romantic partners, and they were not at the time of the murder, which is super common for these types of murders. Usually, if you haven't watched my other videos, you are in the most danger when you're leaving an abuser and for the first 12 months after you have left them. So I don't know what time period this falls into, but I'm willing to guess that it's probably within a year of them breaking up. Michelle was powerful, she was beloved, and she was a high-profile woman, and it would be really difficult for this type of man to work with her every day and see her every day and not be able to be with her and or not be able to feel like he has control over her. Like I also said, the family and thus the police believed that Turner did it, like almost immediately. Why? What had they seen? What had they heard about? What red flags may have come across their awareness that they weren't even like consciously aware that they knew, but they knew something. They had seen things, they had heard things, they had heard about things that made them immediately have this guy come to mind when asked who might want to hurt her. Because I'm sure that the police asked that. No one has mentioned a knowledge of abuse or control within their relationship. But Michelle was a beloved woman, and maybe people think, like I said, that that would somehow tarnish her name. Maybe they're afraid that she would be looked at as less strong if she had somebody like this in her life. But they weren't together anymore, so she is not a weak person. She was willing to get out of that situation when she realized that it was bad. And maybe that is what did it. Maybe that was his trigger. We can't really know. According to one article that I read, with well over 50 friends and family members in attendance, including Michelle's children, at the arraignment hearing, her family members were outraged when Turner's attorney described him as a pillar in the community and deserved to be released on bail. I've got two responses to that. One, again, her family believes that Turner is her murderer. Michelle is a prominent member of the community and I imagine wealthy too. And nobody is looking for some random stranger who came and burglared her house and killed her in the process of like a mugging, home invasion type of theft situation. They are looking at her ex-boyfriend. Her family is sure it's her ex-boyfriend. There are red flags there and reasons there that we may not as the public be getting, but they're definitely there. And two, I realize that it's his attorney's job to make him sound good and to defend him, but doesn't that statement just make your blood boil? I mean, he is innocent until proven guilty, and just because the family believes that it's him does not mean that it's him. But people tend to know. There tends to be a gut instinct and intuition about these things. And unless this is one of those situations where it's a high-profile crime and they're just trying to pin it on somebody so that there's some closure for the community, which I'm not ruling out. But as far as intimate partner homicides go, this doesn't seem out of the question. And as far as I understand it, the judge didn't seem to think so either, because instead of offering him a smaller bail, his bail, to my knowledge, continued at $2 million. And this tribute has a lot of information also, because what the media was not allowed to have as far as information about the murder or information about the history of the relationship, they were certainly given quite a bit about the woman, or the victim in this situation. So Michelle Avan, people close to her say that she was a loving mother and grandmother and a friend to anybody who crossed her path. She was a senior vice president at Bank of America, working to recruit women and underrepresented employees on a global scale. She was profiled in Essence magazine in 2017 because of that, because she had actually started as a secretary and worked her way all the way up to, I don't think she was a senior vice president at that point, but worked her way up in the business. And that was a really good, interesting article in my opinion. So I've linked that beautiful article in the description. In it, Michelle said, I'm going to quote her here because it's perfect. One of my mantras is, to whom much is given, much is required. I have an obligation to do something with all of this power and privilege that I have been given. And that involves mentoring and helping young people, specifically African American girls, because I feel that demographic is so underserved. I sit on the board of the International Black Women's Public Policy Institute, which is committed to enhancing the lives of women everywhere. And locally, I take part in a group called This Is Girl Power, which is a faith-based mentoring organization for young girls. I do it with my daughter. I can help her be a more positive young woman, but I can also help other young girls who so need positive role models that they can see themselves in. Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gaskin described Michelle as a community leader. She was much more than just a rising star in the banking industry. She used her role and resources within the bank to uplift the entire community, helping break down barriers that have traditionally been denied to women and people of color. She had recently been nominated to serve on the board of the Los Angeles Urban League, and she had previously served as a board member for the USC Black Alumni Association, as well as the Center Theater Group and the International Black Women's Public Policy Institute. According to Tracy Mitchell, Michelle led her team of employees at Bank of America to purchase backpacks and to fill them up with school supplies every year out of their own pockets for the Mothers in Action annual back-to-school health fair and supply giveaway.
Well, this is a very important event in the life of our communities. Mothers in Action, they have made this an annual event. I've supported it for many years, and I'm pleased to be a supporter along with my colleagues again today.
Our mission is to improve the quality of life of the underserved families and children in our community. We're expected to give out 1,000 backpacks today. We've already given out 500.
It's a way of saying school is important, community is important, family is important. So we all come together to celebrate those kind of values and say, let's make the best of the future that we can possibly make it.
This year was no different. Special thanks to Michelle Avan and the employees at Bank of America. May her beautiful, giving soul rest in peace. Her living was not in vain. She spread her love, kindness, and infectious smiles with everyone she met. Prayers of peace and comfort for her family, friends, and co-workers, said Michelle, president of Mothers in Action. We are devastated by the news, a Merrill Lynch spokesperson said in a statement. Michelle was a valued member of our company for more than 20 years, and she will be greatly missed. We extend our deepest sympathies to her family. Michelle recently became the head of the Global Women's and Underrepresented Talent Strategy, Global Human Resources for the bank, where she was responsible for its comprehensive strategy and efforts to attract, hire, and retain diverse talent across the company worldwide.
As one of the highest ranking, most recognized women in banking, she would always find a way to lift people up, to pull them up, to push them up, particularly in the African American communities or those that were overlooked or deprived and neglected. She just had a passion to make sure that she was a foundation and a launching pad.
She was also a recipient of Bank of America's Global Diversity and Inclusion Award, as well as the co-chair of the company's Black Executive Leadership Council Business Initiative. She also won a 2021 Investments News Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Award.
The 48-year-old was a sponsor and big supporter of the Taste of Soul Festival that's put on by the LA Sentinel. Community leader and Sentinel executive publisher Danny Bakewell said Michelle was a dear friend and dedicated warrior for our community and a dear friend to me and my entire family. This news is just devastating.
Her death sent shockwaves through the community, and her family and friends have vowed to continue her legacy of good deeds for the betterment of the community and those less fortunate. We want justice for my mother and to continue her legacy of lifting up her village. So just in case you thought that you were only in a domestic violence situation if you were undereducated, if you were underfunded, if you came from a poor background, etc., if you thought that it couldn't happen to you because you were not educated, trained, financially set, etc., this woman is about as set and trained and amazing as it's gonna get in the community, and still she died at the hands of an intimate partner or an ex-intimate partner. And I hope that her death isn't in vain. I hope that it will bring awareness to this issue in a way that your common everyday person that gets killed by one of their intimate partners maybe can't.
She always told us, no matter what we were going through, to be strong. But this is one time where we cannot